Hello. I'm going to be having a look at forms for the IDS website builder. It's quite an important part because we always want a form for our website for people to contact you. So it's something that you'll always have, so it's good to know how to set it up. I'm just going to use this blank template. I'm just going to put in 2 blocks. In the left block, I'm just going to pull in a picture so that it balances the form out a bit, because the form won't need to fill up the whole page. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the form, drop and drag, just as simple as that. There are some examples of forms here which you can pull in, already having some images there. I'm just going to pull in this form here. Is one for a newsletter. Yeah, it's just a basic form. Okay, so there it is. It's almost ready to go, just out of the box. This horizontal block, I'm just going to set that to a maximum of 1200 so we can just see what's going on. As with all the other modules, when you click on it, we have the properties on the left-hand side. But you'll notice with a form, there are quite a few extra items here. Like with a picture, we'll just see picture and then the other item from size to advanced, which you'll see on all of them. But on the form, you've got the normal items at the bottom here, but you've got form, button, fields, labels, SMTP, and Google reCAPTCHA. I'll go through all those bit by bit. All right, here is the important part. That's how you configure your form. You just click Edit Form, and there you will see all the different fields as we saw on the form. The fields over here on the form, here you will see how they are configured. You give them names and so forth. So in the forms you have different types of fields. You have a text field, which is just a straightforward field where you just type in some information. And then they've got, even though these email ones here, for example, and address is also text fields. Email is a text field, but they just give it some extra formatting. And you get a message, a text area, which is a bigger one, and then you have text boxes like these at the bottom here. So you just decide which ones you want, and then you select them. You can drag them around here, just get them in the order you want. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the various types, not all of them, but the important ones. Okay, so we've got the type for the name. We've got a type which is just text. We've got an option here where we can set the limit of the information in the text box. Here is the name that you will have for the field. You can put a placeholder in here. Placeholder means putting a text inside there. So for example, let's just put in name there and reply. You'll see there's the placeholder is also put inside there, or you can put other information in there, or whatever you want to do. Further down, I'll show you where you can actually do away with these labels here and put them all inside just with one click. Okay, so back to edit form. We can just take that out, and if the field is required, then you just click the box. What I would recommend that if you are clicking the box, then you just let people know that it's a required field. Most people would understand just by having a little asterisk there. And here, of course, you can delete the field if you don't need. For example, if you don't want the check boxes here or whatever, you can just take it out. If you want to add more fields, you just go here and you put in whatever field you want. Say, for example, we want a date and time, and we give it a name here, date and time, for example. And then here we can say, okay, show date, show time, and we can have a minimum date, so like from today's date onwards or from the beginning of the year, so someone doesn't put in the date, an old date, and then you can give it a max date if you want to. You don't need to. Okay, so let's just close there. We don't need that. So that's just adding different options, and then you can just go through these options and see, you know, they're self-explanatory. Text area, how many rows. So text area doesn't work in characters, it just works in rows. So if your form is even if your form is too big or too small, you can actually, a trick is just to increase or decrease these rows here. Okay, so that is to add and to edit the fields. Inquiries, you won't have anything there yet. It actually just tells you about it'll list the inquiries that come through the form, and you can download it in CSV format, but obviously you won't have anything now because the form is not published. This is the single most important thing. If you don't fill this in, your form won't work. Even if you just leave it as it is without changing it, and all you do is install the form, you need to put in your email address here, otherwise this form doesn't know where to send the data. So your email address, where you want the form information to go to, you will type it in here, and then use the same email address to say where it's sent from. Unless you want people to reply to that email going to another email address. But be careful, sometimes when your sent email and your reply email is not the same, then some systems won't deliver it, they'll think it's spam. All right, the subject on the form, which is important, so that when it arrives in your inbox, you know, you might have a few websites, and you can say, inquiry form from a website A, B, or C, or whatever, newsletter and so forth. Form send message. Once the form is sent, there's quite often there's a message to say thank you for sending your form, we're looking at it, so forth. So you can obviously expand on this message. For those who are a little bit more in the know as far as this is concerned, if you want to submit a form to a URL, you might be sending a form to a program that wants to pick up information and analytics and so forth. You can do that. But otherwise, if you 99% of the time you want the form sent to your email address. You can change the layout of the form to vertical or horizontal. Okay, so that's the first item here about the form. We will fix these. Seems to be when you go from those to vertical or horizontal, it comes back to the labels being at the top, but we'll fix that now. There's a facility there where you can select where you want the labels to be. Okay, the button. The button is this little guy at the bottom here. Here you can just type in text that you need on the button. Now this link here, just as a matter of interest, it's actually quite important. You don't need to put anything in there if you're not interested in measuring what's going on your website. But if you have say Google Analytics or any analytics program, and the purpose of your website or most websites is to get people to your contact form to contact you, and that would usually register as a conversion. So you talk about the funnel. You start at the homepage and about and whatever else. And if you're not selling products, but you're just wanting people to contact you, you funnel them to the contact page. Now, once the form is sent, you want to have some way to know, to measure when that form is being sent. So what you do is you create a new page. It doesn't have to be on your menu, but you create a page that thanks people for the email and gives them a bit of extra information or whatever else. So instead of just having a message on the top of the form or top here saying thank you for sending, filling out the form, being contact you, it goes to a new page which you put in over here. In your analytics, you will put in the same link that you've got here as a conversion. So every time that page opens, analytics picks it up and measures as a conversion to your form being used. So it's important here. This is just the alignment of a button, where you want to put it, left, right, center. You can change the font of the button. It's similar to other, like the button at the top here. When you just bring in a button, it's exactly the same format, where you can change the font and the size and the line height and so forth. And you can also scale the button text according to the size of the screen. So it's 16 pixels on a desktop. You can make it 80 pixels, or so 80% of 16 pixels on a mobile. It might just look nicer. You can see what it looks like when you're designing. Otherwise, just leave it. And then, of course, you've got the default look of the button, the hover look. So when someone hovers over the button, it changes color or changes anything that you want to change, make it bold, and so forth. And the active, which won't really be relevant here, is when the button is active, like on a menu. When you're on that particular page, that button is active, and then it shows differently. But it wouldn't really work here because you're just clicking on it to send it. Okay, so that is all about the button. The fields are these items here on the email address, whatever else, to style these fields. Same as the button, you've got the different methods of changing the style of the fields. You can change the background of the fields. So these fields over here, all right, let's just change it. You can see there's the fields. Sorry, these are the labels. Let's just see, there's the labels here. So these are the fields, these are the items over here. The font of that will be the text that you're typing in, your users are typing in there, what it will look like. Okay, well, we can just click that X there and it's gone for that starting. And then the spacing of the field. So let's just put in a number here and you'll see how much larger it gets. Okay, so you can just make them as big or smaller as you want. And then you can do the same on different screen sizes, working in percentages. Okay, so that's your fields. Your labels is what I was referring to earlier on, is these ones here, email, name, and so forth. Here you can see the label is sitting at the top. We want it at the left, or as placeholder. That's what I mentioned earlier. This is usually my preference. It just makes it easier when styling and making the form. It just looks a bit better, a bit more. When you have a big label sitting on the side there, I don't know. It's just personal preference. That are your labels. Your SMTP. You don't need to use this, you can leave it blank, and then it'll use the server's sending engine, or sending part of the email facility. But if you want to send your emails using another system, you might have a spam filter that you want to send the stuff through, then you will put in those details, and like Spam Experts service that we offer, you will be sending it through them, and it'll clean it up for you. Then this is where you fill in the information. The last item here is your Google Capture. Now that's when you want to fill in email forms, and then you've got the little box to check, or sometimes you have to click the little pictures. So if you go to google.com/reCAPTCHA, then obviously you need to have a Google account. You can fill in all the details there, and once you fill it in, they'll give you a site key and a secret key. You merely just paste it in here and it works. If you've decided on using, I think version 2 is the one where you have to fill in or click a little box to say if you're a human, then the box will come up inside your form. At version 3, I think it just works on a score. I normally use version 3. Okay, and that's your form. There's quite a bit of information here, but it's quite obvious. It just tells you what, the form, the button, the fields, and so forth. But just remember this email address. If that's not there, it won't work. Even if you just drag this form in to interplace and leave it as is. It works fine. It's got enough information there. Just put in the email address where you want the form to be sent to. And that's all about forms for the IDS website builder.